So, in today's video, I may ad-lib this one a bit because I did write out a little script, but I feel like it's better if I ad-lib this one. But we're going to be talking about narcissism. And I feel that the word of a narcissist, or calling people a narcissist, has kind of been inflated to a generalization of a certain type of person, which seems to be a little self-obsessed. But self-obsession and ego are different than narcissism. And I think that there's a very key differential in these types of people, and it needs to be talked about because it is really important. Because the claim to someone being a narcissist is like pretty crazy statement if you actually read what narcissism is. So what is narcissism, right? So if you're defining narcissism, narcissism is characterized by an inflated sense of self-importance. So grandiose thoughts of importance, thinking that they're sent from God to be like the rulers of the world, and also need for admiration, which is something that's super interesting because narcissism at its core comes from a need to be loved and a need to be the best, and just inflated ego, and it's super interesting, but it lacks emotion. It comes through in really damaged people. So grandiose sense of self-importance, always thinking, like daydreaming in a sense, not really daydreaming, but always occupying on success, power, beauty, the way you look, the way people see you. It's like it's self-obsessive in a way that it's super interesting. Belief that they're unique and special and should only be around people who are as special as them, but no one can be as special as them because they are the most special person in the universe. To them, that's what they think. They think that they are perfected beyond belief and they deserve this or they deserve that. And they need admiration. They need people to look at them and say, oh my God, like this is the pinnacle of human creation, because they need that to fuel their ego and their idea. And it comes with a crazy sense of entitlement, and in truth, and a really big part of it is an intense lack of empathy. Because when it comes to how dangerous narcissists can be, is that they don't care about your feelings. They only care about their feelings. Their feelings are the most important thing to ever exist to them, right? And I've grown up around a lot of narcissists. When I was younger, my dad is a crazy narcissist. Me and him don't talk at all. We're not on speaking terms. Lord drop. But so that insanity, that idea of self-importance creates a lack of emotion because only their needs are important. No one else's needs are important. So they'll say and do terrible things. They'll step over people because they don't care about how those other people feel. It's just about them, because everything will always be about them. They will also, there's two ways that this can go. They will also be envious of stuff that other people have, and they feel like they deserve to have it because they're so important and special, or they believe that other people are envious of them because they're so perfect. And this can exist at the same time, which in itself, they both combat each other in a way, but it's a very true part of a narcissist. And arrogance and just horrible behavior and attitudes and the way that they act, but they can be very cunning at the same time, because there are smart narcissists and there are, for better or lack of a word, dumb narcissists, right? People who don't know how to cover up, but then there are the ones that do know how to cover up, and those are the ones that you really need to be aware of. And so with that information, how do you spot a narcissist? Well, it's really in the behavior, things that you've heard about them from personal relationships or relationships within a work setting, where these people can harm others. And you need to understand that and be very vigilant around people like this and understand who they are and try not to interact with them at all if they're anywhere in your life. So attention and need for validation are two really key things. So if someone always needs to be the center of attention, they need to go to these intense lengths to have the conversation always revolve around them. Everything needs to be about them. Oh, you did this to me. It's about me. It's a creation of a victim complex in a way, and also a deep need to be surrounded by people that admire them, because that admiration boosts and inflates their ego to a very, very like high level, and they need that so that they can fuel their grandiose ideologies about who they are. Lack of empathy, so really not caring about how anyone else feels, doing some really horrible shit to someone, like someone could bump into them and then they go and like tear up all of their spreadsheets at their desk, right? Because they're angry about that and they don't care. It's just like, oh, well, I'm going to do this, because narcissists are very fueled by anger and fueled by a sense of being challenged. So they will do very evil shit, and they will also manipulate people for what benefits them. And they can kind of show empathy, and it's hard to spot, but you can spot it because it's usually pretty shallow unless they're very good at hiding it, that it's not real. So without any forethought to anything, they will manipulate or exploit people and not feel guilty about it at all. And that's why they can be so dangerous if they're smart, because there are narcissists that will come to violence because they're predisposed to just letting all of their anger out and emotion. So rageaholic narcissists are different than very, very smart narcissists who know how to hide who they are so that they can take advantage of you. They'll talk about themselves in a way which is grandiose and very arrogant. They think that they're super superior to others. They'll brag about their achievements, exaggerate talents, lie, and when those realities don't match up, they challenge you so that their ego isn't popped, because they get frantic when that happens, because their whole sense of self or their ideologies on themselves are being challenged, and they hate that. So they tend to lie a lot to get what they want. They'll feel very entitled. So like if you say, I have this protein drink, right? And there's the narcissist who's in my friend group, and they're like, hey, well, you see that protein drink right there? I don't know why you're drinking it. You're not even going to gain any weight. I should deserve this. I'm the one working out. I need it. Give it to me. I deserve the protein drink because I'm doing this and I'm doing that. See, so that term, that starting of gaslighting and also belittling others so that they can get what they want, is a start to intense manipulative behavior and their sense of entitlement that they really truly deserve everything that they want, even though sometimes they don't, because they can be truly horrible. And with manipulative behavior, they'll use tools. They'll watch how people act and how they are, and oh, so this girl likes flowers, so what I'm going to do is buy her flowers and gain her trust so then I can get this from her, is stuff that they start to do. They use charisma and charm, and sometimes they can be really, really good at it to get people to accept them and want to be around them, just so then they can use, disregard, and exploit them, because all they truly want is to have these people so that they can get something from them, and when they get it, you're no use to them anymore, and that's something that's really, really needed. And so what are their tactics, right? Like in depth, what do a lot of narcissists use? And gaslighting is a very big term, but gaslighting is one thing that they use. They'll try to distort and deny reality until you start to question yourself or your sanity. So they'll deny, say I'm a narcissist, right? And I say in a conversation like, oh, you're such a stupid bitch, right? And then someone goes in, like, talks to you about it later, like, oh, why'd you call this person a stupid bitch? And you're like, no, I didn't call them a stupid bitch. I have no fucking clue what you're talking about. That's actually so offensive to me that you would ever put that on me. That's disgusting and horrible. I thought you were my friend. And see, so that's where they get you. They play on your emotions and your lack of maybe you're wrong. Maybe you think that you're wrong, and they'll make you believe that, and that's a really big thing. Projection. So they'll put their own undesirable traits onto others because they don't want to think about it because they're so perfect. So someone will say, oh, you're so selfish and manipulative, and be like, dude, what are you talking about? No, you're selfish and manipulative. That's so rude that you would say that because you did this and you did that, and so now you're targeting me so you don't look bad. That's another thing that a narcissist does. They'll convince you that you're projecting onto them even though they're just projecting onto you what you just said to them. In relationships with people, something that they do often is love bombing and then devaluating you as a person. So they will show excessive attention. They will give praise and love and sink all this stuff into this person so that they can get something out of them, and then they take it all away and they drag people down. And so it will be like, I love you, you're the best, you're the most interesting and most insightful person I've ever seen in my whole life. And then they can do that for like a month and a half. You get used to that praise, that thing from them, and then they'll just go cold, quiet, take it away from you. And so then you're fiending for them because you lack that affection and love that they're once showing you. So they need to just grab and latch onto it. And so it conditions you to be emotionally dependent on them because that's what they want. They want dependency. They want people around them that they can get to do whatever sick thing that they have in their head for gain that they want. When they feel threatened by other people, an intense thing that they'll do is smear campaigns, which is the idea of, say, spreading lies, exaggerations, calling out credibility on others, isolating people from other people so that they aren't, I guess, involved. This person can't reach them. They can't see through them. They can't do this. They can't call them out for their behavior. They get there first. They'll always get there first. That's the thing. And when people are lacking evidence on a claim that a narcissist has done something to them, then they'll be like, okay, so now I can spin this. That's how this works. That's how this works. And it's really intense. Like, everything that a narcissist does can be intensely crazy. And then triangulation. So creating tension between people so that you can get to someone and get what they want from them. So saying, oh, well, here's a triangle. So say one person over here, and one person at the top, right? So this person said to the narcissist something not super bad, but something about this person to the narcissist, right? And so now what the narcissist is going to do is they're going to exaggerate that claim. They're going to go say, this is me coming to you as a friend, and I saw this and I saw that, and I really think that I should tell you that this and this happened because it's super it's super fucked up what they did to you, so I really think that I should tell you, right? And so that's what a narcissist does, is they'll combat two people against each other, and it becomes a very damaging and volatile thing. And so when the term narcissist is used, it's used in a very big way of like, oh, because some people can do love bombing. But just because they love bomb you doesn't mean that they're a narcissist. There has to be a ton of other qualities that exist within it. For love bombing, it could be, oh, like, this person has a need to feel loved and appreciated by someone else by giving them a bunch and tons of praise. But then they fall out of love with that person because they were never really in love, so they love bomb you. But with a narcissist, they're doing it because they want to get something out of you. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they are truly narcissistic, because the idea of like being a narcissist, and in truth, the ideologies that come with this fact and this idea is that they want to get something out of you. And not everyone is trying to get something out of you. Sometimes people just fuck up. So the difference between narcissism and just a person doing something bad, because everyone will make mistakes. But in true narcissism and NPD, which is narcissistic personality disorder, which people can be diagnosed with, and it's basically sociopathy at a certain point, involves distinct and very repetitive damaging behavior to others. And they need to exhibit lack of empathy, exaggerated sense of self, grandioseness, self-importance, manipulative tendencies, intense harm to people around them. And so you need to recognize that and understand that, and best to stay away from these types of people. I don't know. I just thought that this topic was super interesting. The ideas of who these people are and what they are is also super interesting. And then there's another thing that I wanted to talk about, which is, let me see if I can find where I wrote this down. Here we go. So the ideas and origins of Machiavellianism, which is not narcissism in itself, but it's something that really has to do with narcissism. It's a personality trait, not a whole person's character. So the idea of a personality trait for Machiavellianism is characterized by manipulation, deceit, and focus on self-interest. So it's a lot the same as NPD or something that will have to do with narcissism, but it's not exactly the same. The term derives from political theories by an Italian Renaissance diplomat and philosopher. It's interpreted as advocating cunning and pragmatism. It's a ruthless approach to achieving power. See, because the thing is that narcissists are characterized as, it's for my own sense of ego. But for people with a Machiavellian personality trait, which there could be small amounts of Machiavellianism, but in high amounts of Machiavellianism, it has to do intensely with the ideas of gaining power. So there's two differences in this. And so characteristics of Machiavellianism. You'll hear a lot of similarities with narcissism, but it's different in certain senses. So manipulativeness, cynical view of human nature. That's mainly why they do the things that they do. Pragmatism, emotional detachment, and strategic long-term planning. Because Machiavellianist narcissists, which is a thing, or just people who have Machiavellian traits, are very, very smart. And that's the thing to be aware of. The thing is when they're manipulating others, they're very skilled at reading people and understanding their weaknesses. With someone with NPD, they don't have any emotional connection to understand because they don't experience emotions themselves. But people with a Machiavellianist trait have their own emotions, so they know how to play on people better, study them better, and get what they want. So it's all for personal gain. They're very good at reading people, understanding weaknesses, and exploiting vulnerabilities. It's very charming and persuasive to get other people to bend to their will instead of outright hurting them after they get what they want. They'll stay friends with them because they may need something in the future, and also slightly maybe that they do care about this person, even though they're at a lesser emotional level than most other people. Also, with the cynical views of human nature, Machiavellians also usually hold a very negative or cynical view of people and human nature. They believe that most individuals are self-serving, so then why would they not be? Because the ethical implications for their own actions, focusing instead on the outcomes that they desire. It's a very, very weird trait that they'll start to develop, and it's based on the ideas of how they see people in the world around them. But pragmatism, Machiavellians are highly pragmatic and result-oriented. They care less about how they achieve their goals and more about whether those goals are met, which is a difference between people with narcissistic personality disorder and narcissism compared to Machiavellianism. Their decisions are based on cost-benefit analysis more than a moral and ethical framework, and they are willing to bend or break rules to secure advantages. So emotional detachment. People high in Machiavellianism tend to be emotionally detached. They rarely show vulnerability and are unlikely to let emotions cloud their guilt or cloud their judgment or cloud their guilt. But this emotional distance also allows them to manipulate others. And so the point being is that all these people experience emotion, which is how they can understand you so well and use you so well, which is the difference. They're very in control. Unlike narcissists who seek admiration and validation, Machiavellian people are more interested in control and influence than receiving emotional affirmation. They don't care about emotional affirmation. They care about goals. They want their goals to be met. That's all they care about. So another thing about it is long-term planning, and they're very strategic about it because Machiavellian people are very smart. They calculate and create long-term strategies to approach their life. They think steps and steps ahead of people so that they can get what they want. And it's very competitive, and it can be very successful in competitive environments where subtle manipulation and alliances can lead to significant advantages. So they operate through charm, flattery, deception, and lying, exploitations of others' weaknesses, use of indirect power, and maintaining control, which are four very similar but different things to people with NPD and narcissistic tendencies. Is that they know how to use charm and flattery to win people over because they have the emotional capacity to do it, because they can see the emotions that they experience through human experience on you and then use that to their advantage. They will lie about stuff, but only to serve themselves and their interests. Ugh. So another thing that they're very good at is identifying weaknesses within people and exploiting them. So if it's a colleague or a rivals or anybody, they will use those vulnerabilities as leverage to manipulate or outmaneuver them in their competition. And then the use of indirect power, or rather, I guess, confront situations directly. Machiavellians often prefer indirect forms of influence, so they work behind the scenes trying to pull strings and orchestrating events without being overtly visible, and it allows them to have plausible deniability about the things that they do and make you believe that they didn't do that, and it's just how the apple fell from the tree. And the apple fell from the tree not because they picked it off and dropped it, but just because it fell. And they're really good at maintaining control over people and situations, and then that's something that they do a lot. So what is the truth and impact of Machiavellianism? So they can be highly successful in competitive environments. Their behavior can be damaging to people and businesses and organizations and will lead to distrust. But they are very good at getting what they want, which isn't a good quality in most people, because there's a way to just climb to the top by sheer determination, but this is also by deceit and lying. So it can be very, very damaging to professional settings where now your coworkers don't trust each other because of this Machiavellianism person. Or if a guy wants to get with a girl, but the girl's dating a guy, so he creates a whole thing to get them to break up because that's what he wants, and he pulls strings from behind so then it looks like he didn't do anything wrong. That damages relationships between people, and like it's very, very damaging. So they have strategic thinking, manipulation, and a bunch of stuff that's very similar to NPD. So they're two sides of the same coin, but they're not the exact same. And so those are two things that I wanted to talk about, is the differences between those two, how to spot both of those things, both of those personality traits. And I think it's super interesting. So yeah. There we go.